Hello, welcome to the 29th day of October 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, live morning exercise that I do every day to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any noteworthy challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over the objectives of my creed and one of the principles, and I prepare for the coming day, and of course, ready myself for death. But first, hello to new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you here. My name is Kurt. I'm a 61-year-old American living in the Japanese semi-countryside, right at the edge of the countryside and between the city and the countryside, the Satoyama, as they call it. I have been about a year retired, which flavors the fact and the story of that flavors a lot of my life here and a lot of what I discuss here. Up until recently, I was reliably putting out two videos a day, at least two videos a day, one being this, and the other being a daily video in the series that I called Retiring in Japan, which has kind of come on to hold right now as I'm tackling a challenge back home in the United States, tackling it from afar, and my mental attention is focused on that. So as a result, I kind of don't have the bandwidth for the Retiring in Japan series. I may or may not come back to that. We'll see. Otherwise, this video is my journal video. It's something that I've been doing every day for many years. So stand by if you want to participate. You can leave comments or criticisms as you see fit, and I'll attend to those when I'm done. But for now, I'm going to very openly and candidly share with you the last 24 hours to see how I did. Sometimes I have more, sometimes I have less to share. Here's little Rudy coming to say hi. Hey. All right. So for the last 24 hours, I keep notes every day. My notebook says just one thing, a sense of control. And that really spoke to the whole way that yesterday unfolded. Like I said, I'm handling a situation which I refer to as the situation back in the United States, and it requires equal parts patience and um, reason to address. Knowing where my boundary hashtag, I might as well start throwing out hashtags, right? Anytime you hear me say hashtag something or other, I'm referring to an objective or a principle from my book. So I have to use hashtag reason to help me identify my hashtag limits, to know where I can or cannot or should not be applying myself, so that I can make hashtag good use of time and resources. Boy, it all feeds together, doesn't it? And yesterday was a good deal of those. I was on the phone, talking to people, getting some information. The tricky part now is to decide, you know, the trigger, the trigger point to decide when and if to go to America. I won't share any more than that though at this point. But yesterday was a good day, a very effective day in that capacity. I think I made good mature hashtag mature progress in that regard. With regard to my job that I got, I was able to finish the last bits of configuration for my new position, and today I'll be having a meeting today as I begin to move my way forward. I'm excited about that. Maybe within the next week or so, I might be able to actually start doing a little bit of work, which would be fun. Not much. I'm planning to block off no more than 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, probably hoping for an average of 1 hour a day. The 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the a.m. time slot will be my working slot. What am I doing? I'm going to be teaching English. Surprise, surprise. And but teaching English for an hour a day to senior citizens like myself with time on their hands, um, retirees midday, who would like more advanced English learners who would like a conversation partner, someone who has some background and experience in life that they can complement and be a good interlocutor for their own discourse. Probably going to go back into the portal today. You can, as I'm setting up my profile portal, you can say what kind of audience you want. I'm probably going to unclick the checkbox that says kids. I was thinking about it earlier this morning. The thing about kids is as interesting as they are, and as beneficial it can be for adults, especially adults that that are making an effort to have good control over their lives, can be a role model in a way and helpful, they sure are a lot of work, in spite of all the benefits that come, because they're largely because especially young kids don't carry their share of the conversation. What I want, if I'm going to be working, is someone like me on the other side who can have a dialogue with and share about our lives and enjoy the passage of time together. That would be fun. So why not? And the company that I'm working for told me that there's lots and lots of people in my demographic looking for conversation partners. So I think that'll work. You want to go over here? Here, put him on the sofa. Boink. There you go. There you go. Yeah, what a good boy. That's your side of the sofa. That's Papa's side of the sofa. You gonna sit on Papa's side of the sofa? I guess so. Good boy. All right, so that's all there is for yesterday. It was a good and effective day. Very good and effective day. Although, in the face of challenge, no less. As for my creed, it consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. The 8 objectives are: number one, first and foremost, to be always ready to die, and to have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order, so that if I were to die today, I don't leave a mess behind, and I'm satisfied with what I did, and I have no one with harsh, unspoken, harsh words that need to be undone. You know what I mean? And my second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days. Number three is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Excuse me, precisely those, that, in my case, that I've outlined in my book. That's what I spent so much time living and working and trying to distill. Number four is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I respond well when when I respond well emotionally and physically when things are tricky. If I can be in good control of my emotions, I can also better control my outward um, affectation of said emotions. Number five is to perform good actions relative to my creed. Number six is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities so I know what is and what is not within the scope of my reach and control or influence. And seven is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number eight is to maintain my balance, which comes of the attendance to the aforementioned seven. Now, it's interesting. I want to share additional thought that I just had this morning. One of the things I do from 4 o'clock is when I wake up, and I'm usually seated here attending to things by 4:20. It takes me 15 minutes to do my, wash my face, brush my teeth, comb my hair. My wife likes it when I style it. I've never been that kind of guy, but she's like, why don't you put a little gel in it and make it foofy? So that's why I do that for her. Um, so the thing was, I was going through comments, and something interesting has been happening on all of my social media. Somehow, yeah, whatever, something's going on with my content, that it's being engaged more fully, and more people, not necessarily greater numbers, but certainly a more diverse audience. People that I've never seen before are showing up in comments across um, X and YouTube and Facebook and everywhere. And as a result, sometimes you get trolls. And what I was noticing yesterday was how my objective number six is to recognize true limits and true opportunities. And that really helps me as a content creator to recognize where my limits are with regards to engagement. My limits are: I can create content which expresses an opinion, and I can provide follow-up information. That's the extent of it. I could, of course, exercise some control, and ban people or delete people, but I very rarely ever do that, unless they're being overtly hostile and mean to myself or others, right? But it's very rare that that even happens. Usually, people are just expressing opinions, and here's where the limits part comes in, and also kind of the reason, using hashtag reason, to recognize that when people leave comments, they're usually saying, well, their comments say less about me if they're commenting on my content and more about whatever's going on in their mind, even if it comes out as a criticism of me. This is one of the reasons why comments don't really phase me very much. I mean, they do. I mean, I have it's like sometimes people will say mean things and or things that are deliberately intended to cause me some sort of upset. And they'll kind of like, it's like getting a slap of a pair of gloves on the face, back. And it's like, it doesn't do much. It's just a pair of gloves. You're like, well, we kind of started, wow, that's a hell of a comment. But it doesn't really gnaw at me like it once did. I just kind of move on, right? And say, I try to leave it. I try to respond to everybody's comment on Facebook. Sorry, on YouTube. And usually I'll just respond, thank you for sharing your thoughts, right? I mean, it's as innocuous and neutral as a response. I mean, I'm grateful for that they left a comment. Engagement is engagement, right? After all, if it was a comment that was off base, well, either I did a poor job of communicating my opinion, um, which I'll try to do better in the future, or which is usually more likely the case, people are are giving me their response filtered through their own worldview and biases. And I mean bias, but I mean by bias in the best sense possible. We all have biases that that color our worldview. And what I'm simply seeing is their thoughts about the topic that I said through their filter. That really changed my interaction with people and made it so that whatever people are saying, feels more like Neo in the Matrix, right? The bullets are flying by and you're just kind of slow motion going past and they were zipping past. That's what it's become like. And it's a very good position to be in, where the comments on social media have very little effect unless someone, and it's pretty rare that anybody does, but unless someone, and I'm not flattering myself in saying that, I'm just, I don't know, it's not self flattery. It's just to say that it's very rare that actually anyone ever points out something that is, you know, something that I missed in my with regard to my values. Perhaps it's simply because I've worked on it, so I've tinkered on these values for so long. I mean, what's someone going to say to criticize my value that reason is important? You know, I mean, probably not much that they're going to say to that, right? I mean, reason is a very valuable thing. Of course, it needs to be augmented with our feelings, and that's covered in the creed by um, the Path of Wildness, which is a nod to our gut feelings in conjunction with reason. It goes on and on. But the point is, if someone does point out, even in a mean criticism, something that I really need to consider, and my initial flush of being criticized is past, and I can look at it critically and realize, oh my gosh, they've got a point there. That's something I really should keep. I should take into consideration. My natural and decided and determined response would be gratitude and a thank you for pointing out something that I had missed. So it's taken a long time to get to the point where I can pretty reliably do all of those things now, because I've been doing this, YouTube social media comment thing for 19 years and working so hard on my values and practicing them every day and going over them like this every day, so that when someone comes around and it's just their everyday, they don't like the look of my face, or they don't like the sound, my Kermit the Frog sound of my voice, or the fact that I'm maybe living a life that they might have opinions about, for good or bad, and they want to give me an earful or an eyeful if I'm reading a comment. That kind of stuff doesn't really bother me too much anymore. It's like, okay, well, there you go. Thank you for your thoughts. Move on to the next comment. Um, that was all related to, there was a lot of that this morning, and I noticed now that my social media seems to be expanding somehow. I'm getting a lot more of those, and this morning I had a lot of them. I was like going through and like, oh, there's another one, thank you for your comment. Whoa, there's another one. I don't just brush them by. I think about it a little bit. Okay, well, where does that come from? Is that person telling me something that because they've really spotted a hole in my worldview or my values, or are they just saying something mean because they had a bad day, or maybe they're unsettled or unhappy about something, or they have a perspective that just differs from mine, or maybe their politics are different, so they suspect I'm suspicious or something like that. If that's the case, then just let them go. Thank you for your thoughts and move on. But anyway, a lot of that this morning, which I guess was the tail end of the last 24 hours, so got to add that in. Now I'm going to read one principle from the book. Again, Going Alone can be found at goingalone.org. Thank you very much to all my supporters. Your subscription, no, your support makes that website possible. I mean, I keep saying that probably day after day. This is because last week was when the bill came due for my website, and it was $850 for the for the 2 year renewal of my Going Alone website, right? So I've got it on this somehow a 2 year plan, and that's for the website, the domain name, and I've got a premium subscription which gives me some features that I wanted uh, for the website, which I plan to make better use of on a going forward basis. Anyway, that website, and the bill came $800, and I was able to take and pay for that. I keep a special bank account for all the money that comes in from my YouTube membership and my Patreon. All that money gets put into that special bank account to be used to support this endeavor. And I was like, whoa, $800, this retired guy, that's a lot of money. So I took that $800 from the fund that my members and supporters paid for. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If someone wants to follow along on the principle, you can do so at goingalone.org. Click the read the book button, find the chapter titled the Good Life, and you can read along free of charge. Don't have to buy the book, all due to the wonderful generosity of those who support my endeavors here on YouTube and Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And recently, remember I told you before I was getting all kinds of like new subscribers. Recently, somehow Facebook started paying me money. What the heck, Facebook? I got my first royalty. Well, I guess do you call it that from Facebook? I was like, what? I didn't even know that I was set up that way. But apparently I am. Apparently sometime in the past I must have received a request from Facebook to set up my channel for monetization, which I must have done, and because it connected to my bank account, and now I'm starting to get money from Facebook. Plus, also the book sales. I make money from book sales as well, and all kinds of stuff. It's actually quite a number of irons in the fire, as they say. Okay, I'm going to read now the principle called Sin and Damnation, which is on page 269 if you're following along on the hardbound edition. Let me see if I can read enough light here. Sin and damnation. Strange word to use, sin, for this guy who doesn't believe in God. Sub-principles, or deities at all. Sin and damnation, or at least hasn't been convinced yet that any of them exist. I hold the door open. Sin and damnation. But if I was to discover that a deity exists, it would be, whoa, this candle's falling over. Hold on. It was falling over in the direction of Mr. Daruma here. Even if I was to find myself believing that a deity exists, there would still be work ahead to determine if I was going to, what my allegiance would might be, or my thoughts about that deity might be. I certainly wouldn't worship it. I don't imagine that any god that I would find, any deity that I would find worth spending any time on, if the deities did exist, would require or expect or hope for anyone to worship it. Any deity that seemed to demand or request or expect or even enjoy worship, probably I'll take a pass on that one. You know, yeah, I think it's good that you're omnipotent. It's good you've got that omnipresence and omniscience. Yeah, I think I'll be over here sitting by the river. You guys can go over there with your harps and robes. Sin and damnation. The sub principles are. Let's see if I can remember all. Falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, rumor, and gossip. I'm going to read it. Let's see if I got it right. Sub-principles: falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority. I missed authority. Rumor and gossip. Right. Those are the qualities of life that I would constitute in my worldview as constituting sin. Let's read. It is a sin to invest our experience. Sorry. It is a sin to invest our expectations with hope, which may be corrupted or foiled by fortune. So hoping for something where inordinate hope or expectation, uh, where we know that life may step in and we're not accounting for that, or at least considering it, not holding us back necessarily, but not being reasonable in that regard, is a sin. It's a sin basically to not. It's a sin, therefore, to not um, take into account how life might not go well. For example, it would be a sin for me to have come to live in Japan and ignored the fact that I left family back in the States who might need me, right? So it's good to keep that in mind. It doesn't mean I don't get to come to Japan. It doesn't mean I don't get to enjoy my life here. But I do need to keep in mind my responsibilities, my connections, my especially my filial responsibilities to the people back home. It is also a sin to believe things without good reason, to acquiesce for the sake of comfort or security or peace, or to simply avoid the discomfort of not knowing. Ooh, that's a big one, right? Well, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with not knowing, so I'll just decide that I know. I decide that it's true. I'll accept it on faith. Getting there. The penalty for this sin is damnation in the here and now, which is the only time we will ever really have. Damned for our unreasoned want, damned for our unreasoned belief, damned for our thoughtless, careless communications. So again, the sins, the quality of sins, and I think there's seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, there's eight, but rumor and gossip really count as one. Falsity for believing things that are untrue, credulity for believing things too readily or easily, faith for believing things without that have no good merit, or for reason to believe, superstition, belief as a hobby, right, as something as a distraction, dogma, belief because it's just the way it's always been, authority, belief because we are impressed by someone's character or eloquence or their fancy costume and hat, rumor and gossip because it's utter sin to trade in the stories of others who are not there to defend themselves. Consequence of that is damnation. No damnation in an afterlife, but damnation in the here and now. You get to live as a person who is a sinner, who believes things too readily and suffers the consequence, who talks about others behind their back and is less of an adult human being in that capacity, or at least less of in my worldview, a respectable adult for that endeavor, and may pay the price when others might feel the same, to readily do the same with you or me. All right, the next 24 hours. Well, today is the last step in my job process, setup process. It's been about 2 weeks before I started the job search. About 2 weeks ago, I found, with AI's help, I used artificial intelligence to help me find a company that I wanted to apply for. So far, I'm very pleased with AI's choice. AGOX is the name of the company, AEIGOX, and I'm very pleased with them. So far, as an employer, as a partner, I'm a 1099er, so I guess I'm a partner. Nice organization, nice website, good people. I'm looking forward to actually starting to work. But today's the last step. I have everything all set up. I've gone through all this process. I've set up all the payment information, banks all set up, bank accounts all set up, and now I've made my profile, um, got it all gussied up, and now I will have my sample. And I've already went through my first interview lesson. I had to give a demonstration lesson for my interview. I had to have a face-to-face interview to get the job, and I had to do a lesson for them, and for them to accept me. And now I have my final. I am going to give two demonstration. Well, they're not two demonstrations; they're test lessons today. And this afternoon, I will be going to a lesson with one of the employees from the company, who they've given me an assignment. I'll be teaching from the company's text materials. Although, once I start teaching in earnest, I don't plan to be the type of teacher that teaches from materials. I just want to do free conversation. But nevertheless, to finish this last step, I'm going to give two lessons today. From the I'll be spending the morning, and I spent time yesterday studying the curriculum, studying how I'm going to teach, and I'm going to deliver these lessons. And if I can get through that, then by hopefully by this afternoon, by this time tomorrow, I should be a full-fledged AGOX instructor, ready to start teaching in earnest. Yes, looking forward to it. The three comments. And how am I doing on time? Pretty good. Hello, Erica. Hey, Erica says hi to myself and Rudy, who is now, you can see, oh, isn't he just the cutest? Look at him over there, sitting in Papa's side. That's my side, Rudy. I had the heater running earlier, so the room is kind of warm. He's nice and happy. Kyle Blaha, hey, good to see you. It's been a long time since I've seen your name, Kyle Blaha. Morning, Kurt. Just wanted to say hi and wish you well. It's been a while since I've been around. I just spent a few weeks in Japan and a week in Brazil, so I have some catching up to do on your vlogs. It's good to see you, Kyle Blaha. Your name goes way back in my mind. Clock chiming. Hey, it got it right. It says it's 1 o'clock. But it's really like 5:45 or something like that, and it rang just once. Sometimes it gets it right. Even a broken clock gets it right once in a while. At least twice a day, like they say. Good to see you, Kyle Blaha. Evelyn says hi. Evelyn says hi to myself, Tim, and Erica. Erica says hi to Tim and Evelyn. Tim, there's Tim. Good morning. Weather check for the K at 8:40 p.m. is 9.5 C and 83% humidity, dry, sunny, and windy day. Tim, I promised I would have moved my thingy so I can see, and it is now 10 degrees and 80% humidity. And a bit, and it looks like it's going to be a sunny day, maybe with just a little bit of clouds in the air, as if they'd be anywhere else. And a sunny and windy day. So that means I'll bet you got out for a walk. I got out for a walk today, huh? Yesterday, my dear wife was out working in the garden, you know, weeding along the side of the house. I got a lovely photo of her from the balcony. I could hear her out there scraping away. I shared that on social media if any of you saw it. I'm very proud of her. She's a great woman. Tim says hi to Erica and Evelyn. Evelyn says hi to Kyle Blaha. Sarah, hi Sarah, says good morning to myself, Evelyn, Tim, Erica, and Kyle with a wave. Tim says hi to Sarah. Erica says hi to Sarah. Michael Littlejohn says hi. Hi, Michael. Evelyn says hi, Sarah, Robert, Marmite, and oh, Ray, are you there? Ray, are you there? I haven't seen Ray yet. Evelyn says hi to Michael. Sarah says good morning from Wilson's Promontory. What a great name. Sitting in the porch mountain gazing. Sunny morning, low of 10 degrees Celsius, high of 16 C. I love that. Wilson's Promontory. Promontory. I love that name. Did I tell you I've given my little room a name? I call it, well, AI came up with it. I call it the Observatory. The Observatory of Quiet Things. And you can see here, if I turn the camera around, this is what the I have every evening I set up little Rudy's bed there. That's his bed, but he's sleeping right there right now. But this is my observatory of quiet things. I love that name. Um, and I love that Wilson's Promontory. PF, hello PF, good to see you. Softy P, good morning to you and all. Prior to your retirement move to Japan, did you war game various yen USD levels regarding budget feasibility? If I may ask, yes, you may ask. That is certainly within the reasonable scope of questions regarding money. Money is usually something I don't talk about. In fact, I talk about it in principle though all day long. So this is certainly on the principle side of things. So exactly, what we did was we modeled our retirement plan after a yen to dollar exchange rate of 110 yen to the dollar. So our retirement is based on that, and that is simply because from a historical looking at history, that's been a pretty reasonable amount, right? So we're in good shape, and we have a very good retirement, more than ample, even at the 110 level, for everything that we need. We can fund our very nice life. You can go as one day in a couple of years, maybe when the dogs are after the dogs are no longer here. Yumiko and I might start traveling the world. All of it based at the 110 level. That means that anything above 110 is icing on the cake, right? So yeah, that's what we chose, 110. Robert says, hi, Kurt. Oh, hi, Robert. It's good to see you. Robert says, hi, Erica. Kurt, Erica is going, Kyle, Blaha, Evelyn, Tim, Sarah, Michael, and PEF. I love the way everybody is so comprehensive of your greetings. This is wonderful. You're wonderful people. Erica is so inclusive, to use a word, right? because it's a good word, right? I mean, you don't want to be leaving people. It's nice to not leave people out. People like to be recognized, and remember that's in the end that's all we got, right? Is one another recognizing each other across the void, this void, for whatever amount of time we have left. Um, Erica says hi to Robert. Robert, believe in yourself, aka, says current weather is 55 degrees Fahrenheit, 46% humidity, and an air quality index of 15 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. And I want to thank Robert. Robert joined me yesterday in my office hours, my office half hour from 10 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. Japan time. We had a pleasant talk while I strummed my guitar, and Robert and I talked about various and sundry. I welcome anyone that, if you're available and you're free and you're awake, maybe consider joining me in the Discord server from 10 o'clock to 10:30 um, um, Japan time. I'm thinking about maybe I should add another half hour, or maybe I should just do two 15-minute sessions, right? One at the 10 o'clock hour and maybe another before bedtime, to kind of open the door for anyone at the other side of the day. Maybe I'll start doing that. And so, but Robert joined me yesterday. Thank you. Hello. And Robert, Tim says hi to Robert. Erica says, Robert, our temps and AQI here in central Pennsylvania are the same as you. Ooh, Canada and Pennsylvania aligned. Robert says, Erica, that's about a 6-hour drive from me. At least Philadelphia is. Marmighty says, hello to everyone. I hope that you are all happy and healthy. It's great to see you, Marmighty. Thank you for your fine welcome and salutation to the group. Tim says hi to Marmighty. Robert says hi to Marmighty. And Tim says hi to Marmighty. Tim says, 7-mile walk today. It's a long one. Started radio exercise a few days ago. I struggled at first as it's harder than I thought getting the timing correct. Good for you, Tim. It's the kind of thing that if you do it regularly, if you miss a day, you can feel it. Here in Japan, we do it at 6:30 a.m. And the Japanese usually have things. Most of the folks here in the Far East, usually have a pretty damn good reason for almost everything that they do. And there's something very particular about that 6:30 timing. It really kind of, the way that the radio exercise limbers the body, I feel looser and goosier, right? When I come back and I start to walk with the wife, which is at 7. If I miss radio exercise, when I start to walk, I'm a little bit stiffer, like the Tin Man, right? Good for you for doing it. It's kind of fun, isn't it? And don't you love the sound of it? There's some different radio. There's different types out there, uh, different voices. If you can find the one, I don't know if you've got the one with the woman or the man that sounds like a Japanese drill sergeant. He's my favorite. He's like, yosh. Eric says, hello, Kurt. Hello, Eric. Hello, Eric Swan. It's good to see you. I think I've seen you. It's been a while since you've been here. I think you've been here before. Hello, Eric. Hello to you. Robert says hello to Eric Swan. Elvina says, I started the radio exercise too. Tim started them yesterday, and I realize how uncoordinated I've become as I get older. Good for you, Elvina. You watch the old people that are in the group that I'm in, and they're so limber, and they can do those deep bends and all the way around, and they're in their 70s and 80s. Keep it up. Welcome to the radio exercise team. Maybe it's something I ought to do here. Is maybe I could do that in the evening. Just stand here and you know, stand over here and dun 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 dun. Pin this on my thing. That fishy business got Rudy up. He's like, "What are you doing, Papa? What's that fishy business?" Um, Good for you for joining the radio exercise, Elvina. Let me know if anyone ever has any trouble finding the videos. Just search for Japan radio exercise, and you'll have a whole list of them. Robert says hi to Elvina. Elvina says hello and good evening, everyone. Cool and sunny here in Mimiko. Wow, I love that name, Mimiko. Erica says hi to Robert and others. Tim says that's the word I was after, Elvina. Very uncoordinated. You want to go try something, you folks. At least for those of us of a Western influence, try squatting. You want to know how you, because here in Japan you'll see people, even old people, like like if we get a can of coffee or a drink at the vending machine, we'll stand and we'll lean against the machine and drink it in the West, right? In Japan, they'll take the can and they'll squat down on their hams like this, and they get in this almost a resting position, and they can sit there for a long, long time. I can barely do it. I don't know if the bodies are made different or something like that, but I heard it's really good for your circulation and stuff. I try to do it sometimes, but it's really hard. Mhm. Okay, and oh, hey, hi, Eric. Eric says, I don't often catch you live. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you made it live. It's good to see you. Tim says, exercise is strange getting older. I was chatting to my postman who does around 10 miles a day on his round and says when he misses a day, he feels worse. LOL, same with me, but probably my age. I know what you mean. I'm getting more and more walking in lately as well. Now that it's cooling down a bit, and I've got my Rudy stroller, I'm hoping to take more afternoon strolls with my boy. Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining me today. Lots of people we haven't seen for a while. Some folks, maybe a couple newcomers in there. Maybe some people watching that didn't say anything in chat. Hi, it's welcome to you as well, and it's good to see you. I hope everybody has a really good day. Again, if you'd like to join me in person, Discord, 10 o'clock to 10:30, Monday to Friday, Japan time. I may try to start slipping in an evening session as well. That might be fun to do. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope I pass my final exam this afternoon for my little job that I've got, and I'll be a real boy, a real English teacher again by this time tomorrow. Tim says, "Have a great day. Good luck with the job later." Thank you, Tim. Elvina says, "Have a great day, everyone." Robert says, "Thank you, Kurt. Bye, all. Take care, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe." We sure did miss. Let's all say hi to, if you at least in spirit, to Evelyn. I don't think Evelyn made it today, but Evelyn, I know you like to watch. So have a great day, Evelyn. Have a great day, everybody. Bye bye.